hat off. So I'm glad that we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, man, me too. This is a long time coming. We got almost 10,000 fans in the building,
Hmm.
so very exciting. I know they have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions, but I think first we got to take it back to the beginning. You're a native Angelino. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Born and raised,
Which
spent
is
my whole life out here, or I guess out there.
yeah,
I don't know. It feels a little weird to be out in Atlanta for a few months and be, here and there. But Los Angeles is definitely my home. It's my one and only home for sure, for sure.
yeah, man. What was it like? Kind of obviously entertainment's big in LA. What was it like, kind of growing up and transitioning at such an early age into the acting?
I think I was fortunate enough to have grown up most of my life in Los Angeles and have people around me, but I think more so my family, my parents, who really had my best interest in mind and kind of made it a possibility for me to be in the acting industry. I think they had to make a lot of sacrifices, and I'm super appreciative for that. But Los Angeles, I think, something that is a little interesting is, you grow up in Los Angeles, but a lot of times Hollywood feels so far away. It feels like such a
Definitely.
distant, like not even just location wise, but just the idea of being able to get into the acting industry feels so far away for a lot of people. So, I hope that in time that can be more accessible to, because I feel like there's a lot of favoritism in this industry.
Hmm.
And I think, getting the opportunity to be on a show like this is great and all, but it doesn't really mean much if I'm not opening the door for other people, other Latinos, other people of color. So I think that's the most important thing.
What was your favorite scene to shoot, and why?
Oh man, my favorite scene. I feel like any of the scenes, the season one, all of those scenes with Johnny, I feel like were probably some of my favorite. Just, the dynamic between Johnny, this guy who really had a he had a bad run with his own son. So he's kind of finding that in Miguel, and Miguel, who didn't really have a father, but is looking for that in Johnny. I think, you know, uh, provides for some pretty funny rapport between the two of them. I think they're a funny duo, and I think in season three we see even more of that, and in season four it's just going to take that to a whole new level, which I'm super excited about. But I guess my favorite one scene is probably the scene with Johnny when we're in this burger shop and he's talking about I didn't really have a great relationship with my son when he was born, and I don't want to fuck this up with you. So let's if I like I'm kind of working through this, and I know you're working through this. So, but I just want you to know that I appreciate you, and I think that's probably my favorite scene because there's not really a lot of I feel like for Miguel at least it's a lot of there's a lot of drama within the kids in themselves. So having some nice adults on the show is those are always pretty fun.
One last question about Cobra Kai is, and it's not really about Cobra Kai. It's more about the sort of tenets and components of karate. What's the best takeaway that you've gotten from that karate training, or just from the overall kind of ethos of karate?
I think it's just that to have patience. Good things take time, and I think in the day where everything is so easily accessible, everything's on your phone. You can, with the push of a button, you can buy anything. I think like there's something so rewarding about training karate, and at the end of the month or at the end of the week, finally being able to do a move that you weren't able to do or stuff like that. Like it's so much more fulfilling than just being like, oh, I can't do this. Boom, there we go. Like I think that the biggest thing that has taught me is just to be patient, and that it's okay to not be the best at everything. But there's things that you can not be the best at, but that just means that you have to work on them. And I think, uh, you know, going into this fourth season, I've learned more than ever that it's okay to not be great at everything, and to kind of I think that that's something super important. Like there's everyone has flaws, and everyone has things that they're not great at, and everyone has things that they're super great at. Like there's things that Tanner's super great at that I'm not great at, and there's things that I'm great at that Jacob's not. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you have to be you don't have to be the master of everything. You can be good at the stuff that you're good at, and um, you know yeah, I'd say that's it.
We're watching a lot of movies, and Karate Kid was one of
Mhm.
those movies, or one of those series. what was it like? Did you feel a lot of pressure, in this reprisal of such an iconic series? And how was the preparation for such an iconic role that you now have?
I think honestly there wasn't a lot of pressure at first just because we didn't really have an audience. We were there was not really any expectation. There was no bar to fulfill. So we were kind of just making the most with a show that, you know, looking back on it was a very culty show. When we were on YouTube, the show felt big and the
Hmm.
show felt like we had found its home. But it wasn't really until, that first season dropped on YouTube that we realized like, oh crap, a lot more people than we thought, were interested in this. And I'm super appreciative that, YouTube gave us that platform to kind of, find our footing. And now, moving to Netflix, it's just so many more eyes are being put on the project, and it really is like night and day. um,
Yeah.
but with that being said, I think our show still wants to do the same thing. We've moved platforms, but I don't think the show changes at all. I think it still maintains that heart, that serialized kind of, format, and really just trying to do what it does best, which is bring back this continuation of this story of, Daniel and Johnny without making it too corny. I think it can be corny in some places, but I think it needs to be. I don't think there's any way to make this a super, super serious show.
Yeah, I agree. I think those moments, those quote unquote corny moments you're talking about, are actually really endearing and like
Yeah.
contribute to why people like the show so much.
Yeah.
Um, what was the training like? A lot of people want to know what training you went through to
Mhm.
do that role, and how many, like, what stunts did you have to do? Did you ever get hurt? Like, what was that like?
The training regimen, I would say, up until this year for our fourth season was pretty consistent. Like, I would say we usually have a month of training before we go out and film, and then maybe 2 or 3 days of training while we're out in Atlanta. This season, we're training every day we're not working, which definitely makes it a little bit harder. But I think now, as everyone's getting older, I started the show, I had just turned 16. So, and
Wow.
now I'm about to be 20. So, having, seeing everyone grow over time, I think our priorities, while maybe seasons 1 and 2, I was, playing video games any second I could when I wasn't filming. Now it's kind of like, now we go to the gym, or now we go rock climbing or ride our bikes and stuff like that. So I think you start to see what, and food obviously is a huge portion. That's probably
Gotta
the
eat.
hardest part, actually. Now that I'm thinking, the hardest part isn't the gym or rock climbing or any of that, or training with karate and all of that. It's definitely the food. That's the thing that gets me the most, because I just want to eat whatever I want. I want to have fun, and there's I don't know. It feels like a lot of the people, not a lot of the people, but the people who are on the show are all on like the chicken and rice diet, and I hate the chicken and rice diet. I
No,
can't do it. So
especially as a Latino, man, we need the al pastor. We
I'm
need the
like, damn.
we need the
But
pozole.
luckily being in Atlanta, we can't really do much. The COVID regulations are pretty strict over here, so it makes it a little bit easier. We end up cooking a lot of food at home, which definitely helps. But the training regimen this year has been more strict than ever, and I actually like it. I think it's actually, beneficial, and hopefully, when we get back to LA, I'll be able to keep up with it. But it's a little bit harder when, everything in Los Angeles is pretty much shut down.
Definitely. So you're shooting season 4 in Atlanta as we speak.
Yes, 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 yes.
Wow. What is do you notice any difference between sort of when you started and now, and how does the another question we got was the cast dynamic, like what is it like forming these close bonds with all your castmates, and how has that relationship evolved over time?
Yeah, I think, is something that was super fortunate filming the show, is that we really did connect on a family level from the get-go. There wasn't any sort of hesitation when it came to getting to know each other. I think, and a lot of that comes from, we didn't know anybody else in Atlanta. It wasn't like when we weren't filming, it was like we were at home alone. So it really, I think, made the process of getting to know each other come and go much quicker, just because we're like, well, it's the weekend. I don't want to sit at home alone. Let's hang out with some of the other people on our show. And I think for that reason, it made it, after the first season, it felt like we were all a family. Um, going into our fourth season now, I'd say the biggest changes really just have to do with COVID. We have to be a lot more careful. So
Mm.
that means, fortunately, I get to live with some of the guys from the show, but I think if it wasn't for that, I might go crazy. I really can't. It's already hard enough, living alone in LA and, seeing my friends and stuff like that. But I think filming a show where you can't really go out much, I think it would be much harder. But, it really is a family, and I'm really, appreciative and grateful that we really, like, I can't think of a person on our show who we don't get along with. So I think that that's super rare, and I think that that's something that we don't take lightly. And we're like, all right, this is like, we got a good thing going on. Let's not ruin paper. So I think that part has been the coolest, and seeing different people's interpretations of the characters or their
Word.
art styles. That's been the coolest. And then, the other thing that's kind of weird is seeing people's like their theories about the show. It's so insane how in depth people can get, where they're like, well, Miguel was wearing these jeans and these jeans, or stuff like that, where it's like the salt and pepper shakers in the background of this scene are owls, and the blah blah blah's favorite character is an owl. So I think they're coming back. It's like, whoa, that was just at Pottery Barn. I don't know what to say like that. That was not. You went a little too deep in that, but I think it's awesome. I think it it shows like how engaged some people are, and
Yeah.
how much like it really means to people. And I think that that's you know awesome. You really can't wish for anything more in a show. And I think that, while sometimes there are a little some that I'm like, whoa, who did you hear that from? Like, that was way too accurate. Like,
Yeah.
who are your sources? I think there's some other ones where I'm like, these are like, that would be cool, but you'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. What you said about quarantine, you're saying you're like rather do a lot of other stuff. Are there any new skills maybe, or anything new, besides social media that you've been getting into, or anything you picked up or learned more about?
Cooking has probably been the biggest one. I definitely,
Uh,
uh, and especially, I guess, I moved out over quarantine, so living alone, I really started to appreciate cooking so much more, just because I think there's one thing in having the convenience of being able to go out and eat food and or order in and all of that, but that first month of quarantine, I was just ordering food every day, and I was eating Wingstop all the time and doing this, and I just
yeah.
totally was like, screw it, whatever. I'm going all out. I live alone. I could do it. And then I started to just be super like, oh, it really just made me be like, oh, this is not sustainable. It's totally not sustainable, and uh, and I think it's so much more fulfilling to like cook a dish and be like, all right, this is delicious, or this is trash, and I need to get better at it. Like, something is wrong here.
You said no ladies over, no ladies in your life right now.
No ladies over, no. I feel like, I don't know. It's quarantine is hard, but also like it's being someone who fortunately gets to like go to Atlanta to film for 4 months, and then get to go to this place for 4 months. It kind of provides for not the most stable, like, it's kind of hard to build relationships and friendships over quarantine, just because you're like, unless you were my friend before quarantine, like, it's kind of hard to make new friends. Like, we're not hanging out in person. Like, yeah, there's FaceTime and Zoom and all that, but it's kind of like, I don't know. So I think, and it's just kind of easier. I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I got my boys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think there's no rush.
I feel you.
I think it'll just be kind of talking about, you know, like the usual stuff like Cobra Kai and whatnot, but also like trying to, like I was saying earlier, open the doors for more people of color, but especially more Latinos in this industry, just because it's a little worrisome that Latinos are the number one moviegoers and the number one consumer for television and movies and stuff like that, while simultaneously also being the least represented. So I think this hopefully can put a spotlight on that, and hopefully just be a small moment to appreciate all of the Latinos in this industry, and really highlight the achievement this year, and move forward and say, this is great and all, and we have this moment where we get to celebrate this, but there needs to be more of this. There needs to be more more doors open. There need to be more people of color in positions of power in this industry. So, you know, it's not enough that you know we need to be the ones making the decisions in the big, the big rooms. So that's kind of what it's about. I'm excited for it. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see you on the 25th. That'll be fun.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome
Awesome.
talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, we'll get you in the studio when all this craziness ends and do a real chat. It'll be
Make it
fun.
happen. Make it happen. All right, brother. Well, look, have a great day, man. Okay.
You too. Thanks.